All right, today we're going to dig into a really fascinating paradox, something right at the heart of India's economy and its environment. We're talking about how to unlock the nation's green gold.
So let's just jump right in with the big question here. India has tons of valuable native trees, like teak, right? So why on earth is it one of the world's biggest timber importers? Something about that just doesn't add up, does it? And we're not talking about small change here. The cost of this paradox is absolutely staggering. On average, India has been spending over $4 billion a year on timber imports. That is a massive drain on the economy for a resource that you'd think could easily be grown at home.
So, you see, the problem isn't a shortage of trees or a lack of land, not at all. It's a problem with the system, with the process, with red tape. And the potential solution, the key to unlocking all this value, well, it has a name: agroforestry.
Okay, so I just threw this big word at you, agroforestry. What exactly is it, and why is it so powerful? Let's break it down. In the simplest terms, think of it like this. It's about smartly mixing trees and farming on the very same plot of land. We're not talking about separate forests over here and farms way over there. No, this is about weaving them together, making them work as one to benefit everybody. And when you do this, the benefits are just immense. I mean, look at this. It puts more money directly into farmers' pockets. It supplies the vast majority of wood for India's booming furniture and construction sectors. And on top of all that, it's an environmental powerhouse, improving the soil, recharging groundwater, and sucking up huge amounts of carbon from the atmosphere. Now, this really gets to the heart of the money. For a farmer, I mean, just look at the choice. It's stark. You could plant a common tree like eucalyptus, or you could plant a high-value tree like teak and get nearly 10 times the price. The incentive is absolutely massive. So what's the holdup? Well, that brings us to the villain of our story. And it's not a person, and it's not some big evil corporation. It's a complex, tangled web of bureaucracy. It's red tape. Just try to wrap your head around this. Imagine you're a farmer, you plant a tree, you wait years and years for it to mature, and then you have to spend up to another full year just to get permission to harvest and sell it. It's a process so difficult that it discourages the very thing it's supposed to be regulating. Let's try to walk in the farmer's shoes for a second. Before you can even apply for a permit, you have to prove you own the land. This means going to the revenue department for boundaries, the registration department for deeds, the survey department for maps, and so often these records are outdated, or they just plain don't align. It's a bottleneck from the very beginning. And it gets worse. There's no single unified system. Depending on what state you're in, you might have to deal with the forest department, a district officer, or maybe even the local village council. This patchwork of rules creates an absolute nightmare for transporting timber across state lines, leading to major delays and, you guessed it, increased costs. So, the problem is clear. But you know what? So are the solutions. The report we're drawing from lays out a really clear blueprint for how to fix all this. The blueprint really boils down to 4 key steps. First, create a single window system, a one-stop shop for all permits. Second, and this is the big one, make a crucial shift in focus, from proving land ownership to proving tree ownership. Third, make that possible by using modern tracking tech like QR codes and GPS. And finally, get everyone on the same page with a national pass system that makes transport seamless. This slide shows that fundamental shift in thinking. The old way gets totally bogged down in ancestral deeds and boundary disputes. The new way asks a much, much simpler question. Can we prove that this specific tree was grown on private farmland and not illegally taken from a forest? And with today's technology, the answer is a clear yes. So how does this work in practice? Well, technology provides the answer, and it's pretty cool. Imagine a tree is registered with a unique QR code, or maybe even a microchip from the day it's planted. This stuff is already being tested with tools like Tigram in Kerala. You can track the tree through its entire life, and then track the logs with GPS on the truck. All of a sudden, the timber is completely traceable, and therefore completely trustworthy. And look, we know this works because it's been done before. When India simplified the rules for bamboo, and when Karnataka removed restrictions on growing sandalwood, what happened? Private cultivation was incentivized, production went up, and it actually helped curb illegal harvesting. Simply making the rules smarter works. So if India can actually cut through all this red tape, what's the price? Let's zoom out and look at the enormous potential here. That number right there, that is the current size of the global teak market. It's a massive multi-billion-dollar industry, and India, a place where teak grows natively, is currently a net importer. That number represents the staggering opportunity cost of all this red tape. The takeaway here is so powerful. By cutting through its own bureaucracy, India has the chance to completely flip the script. It can go from spending billions on imports to becoming a self-reliant, sustainable timber powerhouse, boosting farmer incomes and creating a much greener economy in the process. And this brings us to the final forward-looking question. The knowledge is there, the technology exists, and the economic and environmental incentives, they're undeniable. The only remaining question is one of political will.
You know, the seeds of this green revolution are already in the soil. The potential for a more prosperous, more sustainable future is right there. The choice of whether to cultivate it, well, that's India's to make.